I want to talk about the use of the thermoplastic pad that I commonly use in many of my cases. As we know, most horses' normal feet, the frog and the solar surface of the foot should at least be on the same plane. Anytime the frog drops below the level of the solar surface, we call that a prolapsed frog or a dropped frog. And you can see in these pictures, here's some. One on the left is a mild case of a prolapsed frog, and the one on the right is a more severe case. And then here in this picture here is a very severe case of a prolapsed frog. And I think this is one of the negative consequences of just shoeing with a normal shoe over time. You do suspend the frog off the ground and just load the perimeter hoof wall, and that frog is not really engaged and not supported by anything. You know, a barefoot, that frog will be in constant contact with the ground, but when we suspend the foot with a normal shoe, that frog will drop and prolapse and look for the ground in most foot types. And a lot of these horses will present with performance issues, so they may not be overtly lame. They may just have lack of impulsion if it's a hind limb doing this, or they may just not want to stride out. They may want to protect their heels until it reaches a critical point, and then they'll start showing some severe lameness issues, usually soreness over the bars. Traditionally, the way of combating this or addressing this is fitting these horses with frog support, and that could be frog support pads, that could be heart bars, it could be a pour-in pad. And as we know, especially when you get into working with some of the higher-end athletes where subtle changes are easily detected by the rider, some horses just don't like having firm support over the frog. One of the reasons why some horses tolerate frog support and some do not is the method it's applied. Sometimes there's uneven frog contact from the bar. Maybe the frog heart bar doesn't sit completely congruently with the frog, so you get uneven pressure on the frog. So one way we combat that is to hot fit heart bars. And surely when you hot fit heart bars and you have even frog contact with the bar, those horses are more likely to tolerate the frog support. But still, a lot of horses will not tolerate that firm support, or they'll just won't perform quite as well. So one thing I typically will use on these cases is a form-fitting thermoplastic pad. So it's a pad made of thermoplastic material that's heated up and molded to the frog. So it's almost the opposite of hot fitting a heart bar. In this case, you're fitting the pad to the shape of the frog rather than hot fitting the frog to fit the bar. And these horses will tolerate that a lot better if they haven't tolerated other types of frog support. Here's a video just showing a horse that's fitted with a thermoplastic pad. And you can see as that foot is loaded, you can see that thermoplastic pad just gives a little bit. It's more of a form-fitting support that does have some elasticity and rebound to it. So these horses typically will tolerate that a lot better. I'm just going to go through the process on how we apply the thermoplastic pad. First, we'll shape a shoe to fit the foot, and then we'll cut a thermoplastic pad. And when you fit these pads to the shoe, you want to fit them a little bit bigger, especially from the widest part of the foot back, because as you heat up that pad and shape it to that prolapsed frog, it's going to shrink. So you want to fit it a little fuller, at least an 1/8 inch fuller from the widest part of the foot back, so it doesn't become too short on you. So after the pad is riveted to the shoe, I will typically heat it up. And there's different ways to heat it up. You can heat it with a heat gun. Typically what I'll do is I'll have my forge turned on for a few minutes, and then I'll turn the forge off, and I'll use that residual heat in the forge to heat up the thermoplastic pad. And once it's pliable, it'll have a glassy look to it. We'll remove the shoe from the forge. You want to usually have gloves on because the shoe will be fairly warm. And we'll tack it on with 2 nails. And then after the shoe is set with 2 nails, I'll take either a sponge or a sanding block, and I'll place it between the branches of the shoe, and I'll let the horse stand on the shoe. That sponge or sanding block pressed up against the soft heated thermoplastic pad will make a nice mold of the frog. So you can see we have a nice form-fitted pad that fits the contour of that frog. And it's a very neutral method of giving support. It doesn't provide a whole lot of positive pressure. It's more of in a neutral, very forgiving manner. And these frogs will, over time, readjust, and the prolapse will resolve, and the frog will eventually be on the same plane as the solar surface of the foot. So here's a case of a severely prolapsed frog. This was a higher level jumper, And this horse was very sore over his bars, and to keep this horse sound, they just kept adding more and more rim pads to this horse's foot. And the higher they lifted that frog off the ground, the more and more it prolapsed over time. In this particular case, we used the thermoplastic pad. And you can see this horse, we fit that thermoplastic pad to the contour of the frog. And over 2 shoeings, this horse, performed very well. And you can see how that contour of the frog is now in a more normal position. The prolapse is resolved. And we use this in all types of horses, jumpers, dressage horses, 3-day event horses, and race horses. We use it quite often because they can really benefit from the protection in their bars. A lot of these horses do get sore over their bars, and a lot of them do have prolapsed frogs. So you can see here's a race horse with a quarter crack and a low heel, and this horse was fit with a thermoplastic pad to provide support and protection to the back half of the foot. Yeah, so in conclusion, this is just another method of frog support you can have in your tool bag. A lot of horses will tolerate many types of frog support, and you may not be indicated for every horse, but it is an option for some horses that are particularly sensitive and don't respond to other methods of frog support.